Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Endace Packet Forensic Files with your host, Michael Morris. This week's special guest is Chris Bihary, CEO of Garland Technologies and co-founder. Chris, thank you for joining. Welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. Really appreciate you taking the time today. And, now in the virtual world, it's a great way to connect up. So appreciate all the time and effort.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just, little brief background for me. I got in IT about 93 and started getting into kind of the LAN WAN, had a reseller business out in the Michigan area. So we did a lot with, everything from, structured cabling to Novell to, NT, Citrix, all that good stuff. And remember the Synoptics days and Bay Networks. And so been doing a lot in the networking side and really had a, passion and desire in terms of deploying networks and especially critical infrastructures. We had a contract for a long time where we actually were doing 911 systems. So we were deploying for a company actually out of your backyard, Boulder, a company called Print Track that got bought by Motorola. So we'd actually go in and deploy, everything from the wiring to the LAN, WAN infrastructure for 911 systems.
Okay.
So, as you know, obviously that's a, critical infrastructure.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
always, seeing the value of network uptime and be able to monitor and support and secure. And so it's, it's been a great ride and, started Garland back in 2011. And so just continuing with, helping people, be able to monitor, support, troubleshoot, secure, and, really just take a philosophy of, I'm a whiteboard engineer is what I call myself.
I love it. I love that analogy because in my space, I've been an SE for a number of years and a solution architect, and I always hated slides. I love to whiteboard a conversation so much more. So that's perfect. Chris, so you started a number of companies. You've been in the networking industry for over 20 years. With all the changes going on, with the pandemic and remote workforces, what are you seeing some of the biggest challenges companies are facing around their networks in terms of both performance and security?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the challenges have always been around. I think, the uniqueness, sometimes just now deployment and being able to get into data centers and all that. But I still always go back to a lot of the basics. And, to me, it really starts with the fundamentals. And, I always like to just go back to the packets, right? And, when you look at, talking to folks, regardless if you're in security, your network operations, it's really important that, you understand what's happening on your network and you have to instrument it, right? And so for me, I know there's a lot of changes and, everybody at home and Zoom and, obviously bandwidth issues and, all that good stuff. But, at the end of the day, I always like to, go back to the basics is, we've seen, everything from, data centers to outsourcing to back, you have the, back in the day, everybody was doing, NT and then they moved to Citrix because, it was too expensive PCs at all the desktops. And
Yeah.
you keep seeing this like insource, outsource. But, throughout that, you still have data centers, you still have compute, and you still have to be able to troubleshoot and secure. And, I always go back to you still need the packets.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's so basic, yet it's amazing how, when you talk to folks, you're like, well, we're just going to try to connect up to span. We're just going to, get a little, flow data, which does work a lot of times for certain applications. But, if you want to really see what's going on in your network, right, let's get the packets. And, that's really where we start at is just, helping, customers, get that packet level data to the, security and monitoring tools to help, solve these challenges on what's going on.
That's an excellent point. And one of the things I was thinking about, you mentioned network visibility and getting to that packet level. But that's become more challenging than ever from my perspective for a couple of key drivers. One, the whole virtualization and hybrid cloud or just pure cloud infrastructures. But secondarily, with expanded infrastructures with all these remote workers, right? So I've heard it called the attack surface is exponentially exploded, right? Because now you got home networks and things like that. Um, what are some things you recommend NetOps teams and SecOps teams do to ensure both reliability and security?
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of it's looking at, how you have the ability to monitor and capture and
Mhm.
support, the ability to troubleshoot. So, as people are moving remotely, uh, I know a lot of companies are looking at the challenge of, meeting certain, compliance regulations, right? So now they're trying to say, how do I get the ability to deploy something, literally at someone's home now, right? Because and they has to be secure. They got to make sure they're meeting the requirements.
Mhm.
Some really unique challenges with, what if I have to ship out, 7,000 little probes to be able to meet my monitoring capability?
Right.
So, it is something we're seeing a lot of. Uh, Not so much for the ability of the probes. We did not to, but we have this little tap guy that is pretty neat. It's just a little portable field tap we call it, and you can plug in a router switch at home, and then you got a little USB port that powers it up, and you collect all the packets.
Okay.
So uh, the purpose of this product initially was really just throw it in your laptop bag and make sure you can go in a ceiling and unplug your wireless access point. You plug this in, you start collecting some packets of Wireshark. And with all the home users, we're teaming up with certain security companies and analytic companies that they'll have a little box that they're doing the monitoring to meet the compliance issues, but how do they connect it, right?
Right.
Basic. And so here's a kind of a product we developed a little over a year and a half ago, really for just the traveling technician to help troubleshoot things. And it's really turned into a product helping solve some of these remote users to be able to deploy a product on a real small mini compute box that keeps them compliant.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing transactions and you're in the financial industry, or you're doing data input for hospitals and confidential records, right? You gotta, how do you get that out to people and make it easy and connect it up to home networks? It's pretty challenging. So that's kind of just something that's come out of this whole situation that's kind of been unique, and taking a product and solving a different problem that you didn't know was going to be here
Right.
9 months
That's
ago.
excellent timing on something like that, isn't it? That's tremendous. What are you seeing many organizations missing when it comes to performance or security?
So over the you know last 3 to 5 years, to me it's become very complicated, especially at the security side. So you look at financials and healthcare environments. There's a lot of pressure on deploying multiple inline and out of band tools.
Mhm.
Hear it, I'm sure you've seen on either LinkedIn or through some social media, right? You see that big, there's like 1,000 names or a couple thousand names on it, and endpoint security, IPS, WAF, DDoS, keep going and keep going. And, it really becomes a challenge of, how do you easily manage and implement your security stack in these environments? So I keep seeing that as being a really big challenge in these environments. And, so at Garland, we're really looking at being kind of the glue and the plumbing and the,
Mhm.
I always like to say the instrumentation to make it simple to, keep connecting up what you need. So if you need to deploy an inline tool, before it was just a firewall, right? Like, hey, I got a firewall, I'm great. And now it's like, I got my firewall, I have my DDoS, I have my IPS. You start getting more and more of these inline tools. And then we also want to see, some look back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we want to be able to do some, packet capture with Endace. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to say what happened before my inline tool and after in both directions. So if there is a breach, can we effectively go do a look back
Mm-hmm.
and really see what's happening? So, it's that combination of, I have a responsibility to implement not only multiple inline tools, my out of band tools. I got to also help, NetOps and get to my application performance and performance monitoring. So to us, that's a really interesting, challenging location, and
Mm-hmm.
one piece that we're really focused on, and helping solve the balance, the network uptime balance and the security balance, and it's getting more crowded there. And so for us, it's really trying to help get those connections and will allow our customers to really manage it effectively and independently of each inline tool or out of band tool. And to me, that's a big trend I'm seeing a lot of in healthcare as well as in the financials, right? Is they got to be able to do that look back.
Yeah.
So, so if you can have a product that can manage your inline devices as well as send that packet level data, it makes their job a lot easier. So, to me, that's been something that is just continuing to be a challenge for folks.
Mm-hmm. No, you bring up a great point, and you mentioned finance and healthcare verticals a bit. These are segments we're very heavily active in as well. But these are also two segments that are particularly heavy under attack from threat actors because of their sensitive PII data or the value of financial and healthcare information. What do you see in some of those verticals doing well, and what do you think they could be doing better in terms of their battle for cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a struggle, right? I mean, for everybody. I can't go into details, but I was at a financial company, and this was years ago, and a breach coming in from Iran, and people just going unplugging things, and it's crazy, big data center, and
Yeah.
so it's definitely it can there's a lot of pressure, and so that's where I think the look back ability becomes critical.
Mm-hmm.
I think in some of the smaller organizations and a lot of enterprises, they haven't they're more about the block and the tackle, and not so worried about, well, do I really have to go look back 3 months? And I know it's tough because, right, there's so much data now.
Yeah.
So to me, that's really something that's unique, and more people are realizing that even if you can have 30 days or something, let's have some level of look back, and it's a challenge that people are seeing is pretty important. Mm-hmm. And I think the healthcare and financials have been doing it for a long time, right? Because they have compliance issues, but moving into the enterprise side, and folks that don't have some of those regulations, there's education that we got to do there. And I think that's where definitely Garland Endace can help educate folks on that piece of it, and get not just protect the now, but can you go back and figure out what really happened the last couple of months? And I'd say generally it's you probably have the better numbers than me, but 6 months is the average time it's been been breached, and then they have to find it and mitigate it and everything else. So
no, actually I read something the other day. I'm trying to remember the exact number, but dwell time was like in the range of like 200 and some days of potential threats. And I'm thinking, man, that's a long time for threats to be lurking inside an environment, right? And they're doing so many different things now in terms of reconnaissance and
Yep.
this low and slow exfiltration. One of the things you brought up there, and I think you were spot on, right? Finance, healthcare have been kind of leading the industry in some of this insight because of compliance issues in terms of look back at things. Are there other things you see them doing that are also kind of guiding the market or leading the way for other industries? You mentioned moving to enterprise. I definitely see some shifts with retail, right? Obviously, all these retail that keep getting hacked. I don't know if that's coming from finance and healthcare, but are you seeing other things shift from those industries that are being adopted by?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that they've been doing for a long time and really helped guide some of our product development over the last 5 years and is the fact that they've been deploying multiple security stacks, all right? They're not just doing a single product. So, we did probably about 5-6 years ago, we developed some new products specifically for requirements in the financial sector.
Okay.
So, specifically, we had a customer who was having an issue, and they had an IPS deployed, and they put in some new hardware, and we ended up having to then tap on both sides of the hardware to collect that data. Mm-hmm. And Chris, it'd be awesome if you could just have a single product that we tapped once and got all this information. And that's actually how we got into starting to do this, integrating our inline bypass technology with our out of band. And so really, they've been deploying, hey, we have to decrypt data, pass it through these tools, re-encrypt the data. They've been doing that a long time. Like they know, like, hey, we have to, see in the packets, the encrypted data is being hacked as well now.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things they've been doing over the last, 5 to 7 years has really guided a lot of our product development. Mm-hmm. Of what we're doing. So for them, it's been a lot of focus on doing that, multiple layer deployment on security, mm-hmm. Included the active blocking. So, they would have their DDoS, their IPS, mm-hmm. Their firewall, everything in place, but then they're also doing their packet capture, their performance monitoring. And, so, really, they've really helped, guide the pathway for how we've done a lot of our product development, which awesome for Garland.
Right. No, that's tremendous. And similarly, they pushed us on some things in terms of scale and performance, mm-hmm. just because of the volume of data. So I totally agree with that. Where do you see healthcare and finance really evolving here in the next few years, right, in terms of monitoring and security? Do you see some things that are really hot on or embracing at the moment?
Well, definitely the public cloud, right? Moving applications up to, AWS and Azure and Google. And so, that's definitely happening, at a pretty rapid pace. So, at the same time, what's been approved and developed in the data center, they want to be able to implement something similar within the public cloud. So, we're seeing, the challenges of, getting that visibility, to the packet level data, right? Because that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
So, they know, like, you go in the financial sector and a lot of the healthcare sectors, they won't even consider monitoring something without a wiretap in, right? Yeah. Get it? Like, we need the packets. So there's no question, right? They move from 10 gig to 40 gig to 100 gig. We're tapping everything.
Right.
And we're getting that data. So, you just have this innate that, hey, we need the packets, right? That's how we get our job done. So now that they're moving to the public cloud, that's causing some challenges. AWS does offer a, virtual tap solution. Azure was coming out with one and it got delayed. So they're not going to have one for a while. So, we are doing some things in the public cloud to be able to do, packet level data access with a virtual tap.
Yeah.
And, just like the problem we run into in the data center, it's just not one device that needs or virtual analyzer security device that needs the packet. So, we're running the same challenges. We need to be able to not just send traffic to one, analyzer, security device, or monitoring tool. There's multiple. And, we're also seeing that, most companies aren't saying, I'm just doing everything in AWS, everything in Azure, everything. So, we kind of bring to the table the ability to have, a single agnostic virtual tap load anywhere. Use it in your private environment, in your VMs, use it in your public. So again, just simplifying things, making it easy. And, that's one of the things I try to go back to. Look at our industry, look at the tap and packet broker industry. And, I almost feel like sometimes, a lot of folks are trying to make that the main solution. And if I go back to that, whiteboarding, if I walk into a customer, it's all about, what do you need to accomplish? And, if they come to me and say, hey, I need to deploy an IPS, I'm not going in and saying, let's instrument your whole network taps and packet brokers.
Right.
So I look at, let's design a solution to meet your needs today. And, that's just how we approach the market.
Mm-hmm.
So, things are evolving quickly. Customers are moving, pretty rapidly from, 1 gig to 10 gig to 25 to 40 to 100. So we really approach everything as a solution base, and we do more purpose-built hardware, meaning buy what you need today. So if you have an existing packet broker, you just need dedupe, hey, we'll just give you a dedupe box. You don't have to buy a chassis with. So we really try to stay true to a philosophy of, what we call just tap to tool, like design. So if you're NetOps, we want to design a way to get packet level data to what you're deploying. Mm-hmm. Over architect things, because, if we put a big system in, things are going to change, things are going to move fast. So, we really look at solving problems, deploying what you need. And we're seeing that, in the public cloud, and just being able to help out and provide a really easy way to get packets to, multiple tools easily, cost effectively. So it's, they can get their job done. But there's a lot of challenges, right? A lot of products that maybe are certified in the data center may not have a solution yet in the public cloud. So what do they do?
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of challenges. And see, I'm saving utility. I'm not moving enough here.
No worry. No, you brought up a great point there that there's been a shift to way people are understanding the cloud landscape, and I think you nailed it and kind of beat me to my question around the fact that it's definitely more of a heterogeneous environment, right? You've still got some on-prem infrastructure. You've got typically many of them have private cloud infrastructure, and now they're implementing public cloud. And it's not all in one platform, right? It's not all AWS, it's not all Azure. And so it is creating those extra challenges for that visibility. And it's neat to see that you're addressing very specific points along that. So that's tremendous. Looking forward, what are your big predictions for this digital evolution in 2021, right? I mean, we hopefully all things align, we should be coming out of the pandemic craziness at some point in 2021. So how do you think people are going to adjust at that point?
Well, my first prediction is my hair is still getting longer during the pandemic. So I had a haircut like you, Michael, for 20 years. So
I'm just happy I still have hair, man. That's all. That's my big deal.
So I know one of the predictions is I think my hair is going to get a little longer. So and keep up with that. But it's, again, I go back to the basics. The digital world's definitely getting different. I know, not so much on the customer side, but the vendor side, right? Everything's changing how we interact with our customers, and how do we get those connections, and we still need to talk to people. We need to do that whiteboarding, right? That's where we really understand our customers' needs, and we collaborate and, really become trusted advisors with our customers, with our partners. And so, in terms of the interaction side, I think it's great that we're doing things like this because, we got to stay connected, until we can get, back on the road and face to face. And I think most people want to get back to that. But for predictions in terms of monitoring, security, I keep it simple, Michael. It's see every bit, byte packet. The packet is the only thing that's going to tell you the truth. So, remember the basics, because sometimes that's the best thing, right? The tackling, the blocking gets it done, right? So, in the trenches at the line for football, that's where you're winning and losing, and when you're on the goal line, it's in the trenches, and for all security folks and net ops, it's on the wire, right? It's in the packet. And so if you have a way to get that packet level data, you're going to solve the problem eventually. You're going to secure your network. And so that's my prediction is, keep up with that and don't forget the basics, because sometimes, a lot of people do that. And so I keep it simple.
No, that's a great point. I love the KISS principle, right? And one of the things we're seeing on that front is connecting that, that tamper-proof data that you talked about with all the other WYSI data they're getting from other sources at this point, right? And WYSI data may not be the most correct term in the market, but that's a key. And I like your point about keeping it simple and staying with the fundamentals. Chris, I want to thank you again for taking a little bit of time and sharing your insights. I mean, your experience in the networking industry is tremendously invaluable for folks. So hopefully our listeners got a little bit out of this. We'd ask them to tune in next time for another edition of the Endace Packet Forensic Files. For more information about Endace's network packet capture platform and our integrations with Fusion technology partners like Garland Technology, please go to endace.com. Great, Chris, again, thank you for joining. And have
Michael,
a great
awesome.
day.
Great session. You too. Have a great day.
All right.